The Alabama Farmers Federation and the Alabama Farmers Cooperative proudly present Simply Southern with your hosts Jim Allen and Mary Johnson.
Good morning and welcome to Simply Southern. I'm Mary Johnson.
And I'm Jim Allen. On Simply Southern this morning, as Americans, we all sometimes take our freedom for granted. But there's a place here in Alabama that celebrates it every day of the year. A trip to the American village is like stepping back in time to the days of our founding fathers.
Speaking of history, the Alabama Department of Agriculture is recognizing farms that have played a significant role in our state's development. Today, we'll visit one of those farms that's been operating for more than 100 years.
Sidney Phelps is also talking about history, the story of Bonnie Plants and how the dream of one man grew into a company that's become one of the nation's leading suppliers to major retailers.
But first up this morning, a North Alabama couple didn't know what the journey would be like when their child was born with a congenital heart defect. But the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Alabama helped bring them comfort during tough times. Their inspiring story is up next on Simply Southern.
There's no such thing as downtime when you own a farm. This is your land. You tend it and try to get the most from it, no matter the weather or time of day. It's been that way for generations. And for generations, your local quality co-op store has been there for you, with a full range of agriculture supplies and services, from feed to fertilizer, seed to grain storage, and the right hardware for any application. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
The blessing of Alabama agriculture is more than 3 meals a day. It means independence from foreign nations, freedom to pursue other jobs and activities, conservation of natural resources, and preservation of family values. For 93 years, the Alabama Farmers Federation has brought together the men and women whose work fills our plates and fuels the American dream.
Nothing brings the family together like U.S. farm-raised catfish. American catfish farmers are dedicated to producing a premium, healthy catfish with a consistently mild, sweet flavor. Because we take as much pride in our work as you do in your cooking. From our family farms to your family's table, you can be sure you're getting the highest quality fish. Because your family deserves the best. U.S. farm-raised catfish.
As an alpha agent, I know we start out protecting ourselves and the things that we cherish, but I just recently got engaged, and let me tell you, life is coming fast. So we want to protect the people we love. I can't wait to see what life brings. Alpha Insurance is for wherever you are in life, and for what's next.
For the best agents in the business, call Alpha.
Ronald McDonald houses across the country provide a comfortable place for families to stay while a child is hospitalized for medical care. It's a place we all hope we never need to use. But when the need arises, the Ronald McDonald House provides security and consistency for families like the Simpsons of Huntsville. Brody is Jason and Lacey Simpson's third child, born on May 8th last year at Huntsville Hospital.
I had a C-section that morning, and immediately when they pulled him out, it was one problem after another. And it's funny how you become thankful for the first problem, because if he wouldn't have had that, we wouldn't have known about the heart or any of the other things.
We didn't know about the heart for probably another 4 hours. That's when the cardiologist came in, and that's when everything started collapsing.
Brody was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect, or CHD. Less than 48 hours after birth, he was flown by helicopter to Children's of Alabama in Birmingham and would have 3 surgeries by the time he was a month old. To stay close, Lacey and Jason turned to Ronald McDonald House Charities of Alabama.
We had family that told us about Ronald McDonald House. Of course, we already knew that it existed, but we weren't sure who it was for. You know, that's for somebody else. That's for families who have to stay gone for months at a time. Well, suddenly we become the family that's got to be gone for a month at a time, who needs a little bit more than a couch in a hospital room to rest on.
They stayed at the Ronald McDonald House, 2 blocks from the hospital, for 22 days at no cost. In 2015, more than 700 other families were given the same treatment at the Birmingham Ronald McDonald House.
It takes $75 a night for us to house one family. So with 41 rooms, that is a pretty big power bill, water bill, all that. Thanks to great sponsors and donors, we are able to do that every year.
Those donors include members of the Alabama Farmers Federation's State Women's Leadership Committee, which holds an annual PopTab collection contest to support the Ronald McDonald Houses in Birmingham and Mobile.
Our ladies really enjoyed doing this. Several of them have gotten different organizations like 4-H involved and local school children. We have raised the past few years between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds, and that helps families stay at the Ronald McDonald Houses anywhere from 3 weeks to a month.
Here in Birmingham, Brothers Recycling actually gives us 100% of the profit from the recycling, so we get more per pop tab than a lot of other places. But collecting those pop tabs and turning them into recycling gets us about $17,000 a year.
With the current value of aluminum, just 96 pounds of pop tabs can house a family at the Ronald McDonald House for one night. However, most families that use the house say they can't put a dollar value on what it means to them.
Just having your child taken and sent to a different city, there's a lot going on top of the financial burden, on top of this being your child. You have to find a place to stay, you have to find somewhere to eat, you have to do all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're here for, is to really keep families together and close and give them that support that they need during that time.
It's for everyone. And a dollar donation, a 50-cent donation, pop tabs, whatever it may be, helps to give stability to families who desperately need something. So you're helping somebody that you don't know just by a small donation have some stability in their life.
I would encourage people to give because, like us, you don't know if you'll ever need those services. We didn't really know exactly what Ronald McDonald House was until we needed it. And now I will never pass up one of the donation boxes without putting something in it.
Brody has now had 7 surgeries, but he is a healthy baby, and Jason said it looks like everything will be okay from here on. And you know, Lacey said that even of their 3 kids, Brody is the youngest and the most laid back.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like everybody who stays there builds a connection with the charity and the other people who stay there.
They really do, and they're committed to fundraising for the house so that it will be there for other people when they fall on those difficult times.
And it's a great organization. Coming up next, some people love history. For others, it's just a required course in high school. But regardless of which of those 2 types of people you are, you're sure to be fascinated by the American Village. Samantha Carpenter takes us there when Simply Southern continues.
Alabama soybean farmers help fuel the state's economy. Soybeans are used to make clean, renewable biodiesel and are a key ingredient in feed for poultry, catfish, and livestock. Soybeans are used in dozens of products we use every day. But best of all, soybean farmers generate $258 million and more than 4,000 jobs for Alabama's economy, all while helping conserve our natural resources. Explore the power of soy.
Today's farming operation is more complex than ever before, with precision agriculture becoming an integral piece to farm management. AccuField provides precision agriculture technologies and site-specific management capabilities in a simplified and interactive format, helping you put all the pieces of the farming puzzle together. For more information, visit us at www.accufield.com.
Brought to you by the Alabama Beef Checkoff Program. Fire up the grills. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Oftentimes, students' eyes glaze over when teachers start talking about history. But what if, instead of reading about it in a book, these students could talk to the people who lived when our country was being formed? Well, this morning, Samantha Carpenter takes us to the American Village near Birmingham, where real people talk the talk and walk the walk of America's founding fathers.
And I say no taxation without representation. No taxation without representation.
These fifth graders from Griggs Elementary in Mobile are experiencing a history lesson they aren't likely to forget. Although it looks like a field trip to Mount Vernon, this class of students is among countless others across the Southeast, taking advantage of one of Alabama's educational landmarks.
The American Village has been open now 16 years. It's an Alabama treasure. In fact, it's a national treasure located here in Alabama. Our mission is to teach and inspire young people for good citizenship. And we do that by immersing young people in programs that remind us of our common stories as Americans, how it is that we got our liberty, how it is that it's our responsibility to act as citizens to uphold it.
American Village brings the history to life and allows students to not only see it play out, but partake in it as well.
But if you were not spies, I suppose that all of you would be loyal subjects of His Royal Majesty King George.
When students arrive, they step into the scene of history. They are immediately engaged and inspired in our vignettes. They are thrust into the Stamp Act rally where they will chant "No taxation without representation."
Oh!
They march with George Washington's Continental Army. They learn about manners and dress at Mount Vernon and might even learn a little dance or two.
Did you learn how to bow?
Yes.
Can you show us how to bow?
We love American history, and the American Village has just made our classes come alive. Just to watch the children interact with the skits and all the characters, it just brings it to life for them.
What was your favorite part?
Well, Miss Samantha, everything was actually my favorite part. I have a whole lot of favorite parts, and my most exciting favorite part was being here and having fun.
Replicas of Mount Vernon, the Oval Office, and the Liberty Bell can be found among the more than 20 historically inspired buildings covering the 183-acre campus. Although it's a popular attraction both with schools and the public, encouraging interest in our nation's history is the American Village's primary mission.
So you hold an election. You vote.
I learned that, they all came together and it took them a while to decide. They had to go through a lot of talking, and they finally decided to do a democracy.
The American Village came about because in many ways our country is facing a growing national amnesia. One of the most powerful ways you learn science is to have a lab. So you put into action these principles you've been talking about. Well, we hope to be for history and civics and government that lab. George Washington said, liberty is an experiment in the hands of the American people. We think every generation has to learn about its role. And so it is a lab in the same way to discover history isn't dull dates and facts, it's the story of we the people.
Move along.
For Simply Southern, I'm Samantha Carpenter.
In addition to the various displays and activities, visitors can often speak with historical figures such as Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, and several First Ladies. You can find tour information on their website at americanvillage.org.
And one of the newer attractions that they have there is the National Veterans Shrine, and it's really an impressive tribute.
And it pays tribute to all veterans from all wars that the U.S. has been in.
It's definitely a must-see, along with all the other historical things at American Village.
Oh, yeah.
Now, many of our founding fathers were farmers. Right after this break, we'll show you how one state agency is honoring the legacy represented by farms throughout Alabama that have stood the test of time.
Alabama wheat and feed grain farmers grow food, fuel, and freedom. Their harvest helps feed Alabama's multi-million-dollar livestock, catfish, and poultry industries while reducing America's dependence on foreign countries for energy and food. By combining their strength with farmers of other commodities, feed grain growers are fueling the economic growth of Alabama communities.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
For nearly 50 years, the electric cooperatives of Alabama have been giving young people an opportunity to visit our nation's capital, where they learn about the value of electric cooperatives and the importance of grassroots advocacy. Top students join with thousands of others touring monuments, landmarks, and meeting with their congressional delegation. The Rural Electric Youth Tour program. Just one more way the electric cooperatives of Alabama are investing in the future of our state.
Most family farms today are operations that have been handed down over the years. Some of the farms in Alabama have been in operation for 100 years or more. As Kevin Worthington tells us, more than 600 farms in the state have been designated by the Department of Agriculture as Century and Heritage Farms. One of those is Overstreet Smith Forest in Autauga County.
It started in 1835 with 40 acres and a dream. Now, 186 years later, sixth-generation landowners Joan and Gaines Smith of Autauga County have helped expand that dream to include 1,250 acres.
I think the piece that really sticks in my mind probably is the fact that the people and the land were so closely tied together. It's almost impossible as we do this research and look at the family history to separate the land and the people because they were so intertwined and that was their life.
The Smiths Farm is recognized as an Alabama Century and Heritage Farm. The Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industry started the program in 1976 as a way to celebrate Alabama's past and reward farmers for continued operation.
Some of these farms that are back from that long ago are still operating today and still producing agriculture, which shows you that not only are they still, they have been stewards of this land for that long, and that's one thing I think farmers don't get credit for, is that not only are they still operating, but obviously they're taking great care of their land because that land is still productive after that many years.
While the Smiths don't pick cotton or herd livestock like their ancestors did, they actively manage their land as a working tree farm. One thing that Similar Gain says is the family's dedication to management and conservation.
The first management plan that we looked at in here on the counter was 3 sheets, and it had the lay of the land, and they did the soil conservation at that service at that time, went in and did the soil types, just mapped out. It's freehand without all the instruments that we have here today. And then there was a planting recommendation in there. One of them was keep it in woodlands, one of them was put terraces in, and one of the most interesting ones that we all talk about quite frequently is there's 2 tracks on there where they recommended planting kudzu. So it is a fact that we do have planted kudzu purposefully.
Several old buildings still stand on the property, including 2 corn cribs, which were used for feeding and housing mules, a blacksmith shop, a chicken house, a smokehouse, and sometimes the most important building, an outhouse. But something even more important than income or historic buildings is the ability to pass down family stories and a generational love of the family land.
My grandson was out here one day. He said, what's going to happen to this place when y'all don't need it anymore? What's going to happen? So, Gaines explained to him that it would be handed down to the next generation. And that seemed to satisfy him. But I thought it was great that he had some interest in the land after we were gone.
For Simply Southern, I'm Kevin Worthington.
The Department of Agriculture and Industries has been recognizing Century and Heritage Farms for the past 40 years. They'll begin accepting applications for the class of 2016 in June, and the deadline is August 26th. And Jim, I've been to some of these farms. It's really amazing the history that they have right there, and some have been in the same family since the antebellum period.
Yeah, I've seen a list. It seems like there's one in just about every county, and it's just great they're preserving these places.
Absolutely.
Continuing with our history theme, after the break, Sidney Phelps and the president of Bonnie Plants are talking about a great American success story, how the company got started nearly 100 years ago and grew into one of the top suppliers of plant material in the country.
I'm just like my customers. I work hard and I play hard. I also help my dad on the farm when I can. That's the great thing about Alpha. We work hard for our customers. It's more than price. It's personal attention and great claim service. Hey, bud.
For the best agents in the business, call Alpha.
What one thing can you say about your local quality co-op store? You can trust us. You get what you need for your farm, for your lawn and garden, and the safest products for your pets. We're locally owned and operated, and you can trust that we care about our community and the people in it. So if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, the Quality Co-op Store has exactly what you need to get the job done. All this plus friendly, knowledgeable advice. Your Quality Co-op Store. There's one near you.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
We believe a plant should be more than a plant. This one is. It's all you need for your garden to succeed. Because it's a Bonnie plant. It represents hundreds of varieties of Bonnie's quality veggies and herbs. But more, it's from generations of Bonnie people who are passionate about sharing their love of gardening with you. Look for this little Bonnie plant and a whole family of plants like it in your garden center. Bonnie plants, so you'll know how to grow.
Hey folks, Sidney Phelps here with Bonnie Plants. Now, we're only 2 years away from our 100th anniversary here at Bonnie, and I'm fortunate enough to be joined today by our President and CEO, Mr. Stan Cope. Now, Stan, there's all types of stories about how Bonnie got founded with the name of a letterhead and all of the sorts of things, so let's set the story straight. How did Bonnie get started and get its name?
Bonnie Plant Farm started, Sydney, in 1918. My grandparents, Livingston and Bonnie Paul, started the company right here in Bullock County, Alabama. My granddad remembered when his dad grew cabbage transplants in his garden and sold to local merchants, so he tried the same thing. He planted 2 pounds the very first year and was able to sell all those to the merchants. Apparently he was so successful that in year 2 he decided to plant 25 pounds of cabbage seed, and again he sold out. So the company grew from that humble beginning.
And all that started with the 2 pounds of cabbage seed, which is why Bonnie participates and has the national program for the school cabbage program across the country now. Now, starting out from row crops to bunch plants to greenhouses, you know, like we're in today, through the years of your involvement with Bonnie and your grandparents and parents as well, what do you see as probably one of the biggest advancements that Bonnie has done?
Well, the most noticeable, significant change that I've watched over the years during my career at Bonnie has been that transition from bunch plants to greenhouse grown plants like you see here today. Probably for my first 8 to 10 years in the business, I managed the bunch plant product line. I was in charge of building the schedules, to buying the seed, to having the product harvested and brought in for production. Gardens began to get smaller over the years as individuals moved from rural areas into the inner city to gain better job opportunities, and with that they planted smaller gardens. So greenhouse grown plants became more appealing. It cost more to grow plants in greenhouses, but we were able to get more for them.
Now, with greenhouse production like it is and in large containers the way they are now, in an ever-evolving market, there's so many options for consumers. Why should they choose Bonnie?
Well, Bonnie is a national brand, a vegetable and herb national brand. And we didn't get there without putting a lot of thought and planning into the product that we offer. We buy from the most reputable seed companies. We buy strong genetics. The products that we offer, we want to feel comfortable that they will perform at an optimal level for the consumer.
Now, with that being said, 100 years right on the edge, what do you see for the future?
Our compound annual growth rate in total sales for the last 4 years has been about 5%. We are pleased with that, but we're not finished. We've got a very aggressive plan for the future. Just recently, we signed a partnership agreement with Scotch Miracle-Gro. Scotch Miracle-Gro has a very strong marketing as well as research and development arm, and we feel like with the help from them that we will be able to continue to grow our company in the future.
Okay. Stan, thanks so much for joining us today. Folks, if you want to find more details out, you can always go to bonnieplants.com or search the App Store for Homegrown with Bonnie Plants.
You know, it's really great how an entrepreneur from nearly 100 years ago can still be recognized in all these major retail stores throughout the United States.
Yes, and the company is still headquartered right in that small town, Alabama, where it started.
And still run by a member of the family.
That's absolutely right. And remember, bonnieplants.com is your source for information on how to make your backyard garden thrive. You can also find out more about the stories we featured today by visiting their websites. To find out more about the Ronald McDonald Houses in Alabama, you can visit rmhca.org for the house in Birmingham and rmhcmobile.org for the house down on the coast.
AmericanVillage.org can provide details about the park in Montevallo where history comes alive to inspire students and adults alike. And if you own a farm that you believe qualifies as a century or heritage farm, you can get more information on that program from the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industries at agi.alabama.gov.
And while you're online, we hope you'll visit simplysouthern.tv.net and like our Simply Southern Facebook page. Next Sunday morning, we're headed to downtown Birmingham, where they're clearing over 1,000 acres of land in a most unusual way.
And we're tagging along as Samantha Carpenter takes us on a tour of the Museum, Alabama's tribute to the state's cattle industry. Thanks for joining us this week for Simply Southern. I'm Jim Allen.
And I'm Mary Johnson. We hope to see you again next week.
Simply Southern is a production of the Alabama Farmers Cooperative and the Alabama Farmers Federation.